Hello, everyone. I would like to start the meeting at 6:33 p.m. First off, we'll start with we would like to acknowledge the statement of acknowledge. We would like to acknowledge that this land that we meet on today is the traditional land for the Ghana people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Ghana people as the custodians of the Great Adelaide region, and that their culture and heritage beliefs are still important to the living Ghana people today. Moving on to the attendance, the roll call. I'd like to acknowledge that Chris Crowley, the CEO for Town of Gawler, is joining us, plus also Stacey Millies, I hope I said that right, the senior strategist planner is also joining us. We do have an apology from Hannah. We've also, I believe, apologies from anyone else? Or? They are Kelsey and Ren are non-attendants at this stage. Ren is here, so am I. Is there any motions to grant leaves of absence? No. Leaves, of course, leave of absence, if you haven't realized already, Aislinn is back a bit early than we originally thought, so welcome back. So then the non-attendance would be Kelsey. Moving on, we have a public open forum here. Janice, I hope I said your name correct, from the UN Youth Australia, explaining what they do. They should be on Zoom, hopefully, Jonia. You can see them up on the screen. Hello, Janice, are you here?
Hello. Yeah. Should I just go for it?
Yeah, if you're ready to start speaking, please go away.
Perfect. Well, thanks for the introduction. I might actually share my screen if I can. I'm going to try and present this way. Okay, hopefully this will work. Cool, and I'm going to try and present. But let me know if it disappears. Sometimes it also disappears when I present. Was everyone able to see that or not really?
We're just wondering if Abby can make it bigger, if that's possible. And not on your end. We can see your end. It's just... Janice, if you would like to just start presenting and we'll figure out how to make it bigger on our end while you talk.
Yeah, I can do that. Also, I think I might just leave my screen just like this, because I think if I click the full screen button, sometimes it disappears from Zoom, so I'll leave it at this size. But yeah, the slides aren't too necessary as well. I'll be speaking about them regardless. But yeah, my name's Janice and my role is basically on the screen. So it's a 2026 Australian Youth Representative to the United Nations. But before I share a bit more about myself and the program today, I wanted to start with an acknowledgement of country. So I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands we're all, I guess, meeting from today, paying respect to the lands that you're on, but also the lands of the Darawal people in southwest Sydney, which is where I'm currently dialing in from, and would like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to extend that respects to any First Nations people who might be joining us today. And would like to further acknowledge that sovereignty of these lands was never ceded and that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So thanks for having me at your meeting for a little bit. I guess I'll probably just be sharing a bit about myself, the program, and yeah, some of the things I found out through my listening process and how I got here. but also happy for anyone to ask questions as well after if you're interested too. Yeah, I guess a bit about the program in general. So, the Australian Youth Representative Program has been going on for 27 years now. So, it started in 1999, and it's essentially a partnership between UN Youth Australia, which is a fully youth volunteer led organisation, and DFAT, so the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And so every year they select a young person who's under the age of 25 to essentially travel across our entire country and listen to young people about what are some of the most pressing issues affecting us. By no means is one person enough for the role. I think just based on how vast this country is and how many different perspectives that young people have, but I'm very privileged to have that role this year. And so far, I've travelled to every state and territory except Melbourne. So I'll be doing that in 2 weeks, and I'll actually be coming to South Australia next week for the this week for the second time, and then would have done a full round of the country, and then I will try to travel to other places again. But I guess since I was appointed in, I'd say the end of January till the end of August, I undertake what's called my listening tour. So that's a national listening process where I travel everywhere in the country, hear some of those issues, collect them. Once that's done, my role from around August to October is to collate that into a report. So around a 200 to 300 page report that I will take with me to the United Nations. So I'll be going to the United Nations General Assembly in New York in October. So I'll go there and present in a 3 to 5 minute speech about like this is what some of the most important things coming up for young people in Australia are, and this is what we want to see do better on that international stage. But knowing that report and a lot of the findings that I've already had throughout the listening process so far have been about domestic issues as well. My role will be then to come back, report to all the young people who I've had involved in the consultation process, and also report to decision makers in state and federal government to essentially be like, this is what young people in our country want. And I guess a bit about myself as well and how I got into this role. So I studied politics and international relations at uni here in New South Wales. So born and raised in New South Wales. And I guess I was first interested in volunteering when I was in high school. So probably year 10, I remember is when I started volunteering at like a youth centre and then at my local Vinnie's. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. So somehow when I finished year 12, I ended up studying a politics and international relations degree. And I started during COVID, which was a terrible time to start uni. But because of that, I was really interested in continuing to volunteer while I was doing like casual work at uni. So I volunteered at a domestic violence shelter, for Indigenous high school programs. I just wanted to try heaps of things because I was really interested in how we can make change in our society. But even though I studied a policy degree, wasn't so much interested in how we can make change from a top-down approach, but more bottom-up. How do we get people in our community to say what they want and feed that back up to government? And so when I finished uni a few years ago, I then transitioned into youth work. So for a few years after that, I've been working with young people from refugee backgrounds, so people who fled war and conflict overseas and found, I guess, home in Australia, and then recently, pretty much 2 months ago, changed jobs. So now I work in state government. So yeah, I'm 23 years old and I work full time, and I also do this role pretty much volunteering full time. So my schedule is always a bit hectic, but it's very enjoyable. And I guess more on the fun side as well. Like I like to do creative stuff like painting, so you can't really see, it's blurred, but I like to paint stuff, go out in nature, play with clay, do a bunch of random things in my spare time as well, which I hope everyone in your room as well does too, because I know that in youth advisory and advocacy spaces, a lot of us have very hectic schedules, so it's just nice sometimes to relax a little bit. I also wanted to give context about maybe some of the things I've been hearing. So every year we have the report, like I mentioned, that captures what young people across our country are hearing. This is what came out as the top 10 issues last year. So we do surveys. When we talk to young people, we collect data through like physical sheets of paper that I have lying all around my room, all sorts of things, just because we want to make sure that we meaningfully capture what everyone says to us. And then we have a list of, the top 10 issues in each state and territory, but also nationally. So this is what came out last year. And unsurprisingly, we have cost of living number 1. We then have climate change, education, mental health, war and conflict, and so on. And you can see in a little kind of overstimulating sometimes pie chart there that we include everything that people say to us in the kind of data that we have. So you'll see some colors are so small, like things like dating and intimacy, maybe a handful of young people brought up, but it's included in the report because we want to make sure we have that feedback loop. But also we run pretty much the largest youth consultation process in the country. And it's pretty much all volunteer led and run as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's a lot of work in writing the report and capturing those voices. So this is, yeah, I guess some of the things that came out. But also what might be helpful to know is what's maybe a little bit different this year is war and conflict has come up pretty highly as one of the top issues. Cost of living still comes up a lot, but I think a new one that wasn't there last year is like AI and social media. I think AI, a lot of people are concerned about like effects on critical thinking, on the climate, but also social media. And yeah, I think there's an element of people like social media, but then also people being like, I don't know, it's persuasive technology, and that gets brought up a lot as well. So I might actually skip through knowing I don't have much time, but this is essentially what I go into rooms and ask young people, like, what is one issue shaping your life right now? And so that's why we have a whole range of things that come up in our youth consultation process. We're not issue specific, so literally anything can come up throughout the process as well. So on the next slide, you can see a couple of things that young people have said. We also take letters, so if you wanted to write a letter to the Prime Minister or a particular state premier or someone that is in leadership, this also extends to anyone in this room. You can literally write one and send it to me via email or post or whatever you prefer, and we try and get those letters to the relevant decision makers as well. So we have a lot of data that comes out about some of the things that all of us care about. And yeah, I guess a bit of context about the team as well. Like, I'm a volunteer, but there's also 30 other volunteers who help run this program. So people helping organise travel to different states and territories, people in charge of research, communications, a whole interesting range of things. So heaps of opportunities involved in this program as well. And yeah, I might just add on to that some of the things I've been hearing so far. I think I've touched on some of them here and there. But I think overall there's been a lot of hopelessness that has come out of this year. I know that every year, I think especially when a lot of us have been advocating for things for a while, it can feel like the systems around us aren't changing fast enough. And that's something I've seen a lot during my consultations this year. But also themes of hope in terms of like a lot of young people across the country are still doing heaps of cool initiatives by ourselves. Like, we are doing, heaps of volunteering or running night cafes or advocating for our own rights in different ways. Mental health as central and tied to everything. And also a lot of self-advocacy fatigue has come up in the different groups. So yeah, I thought I'd share some of the things that have come out of the consultation process. And maybe I'll skip to ways that you can be involved as well. So I guess for me, starting local was really helpful, being involved in like youth advisory councils in my local council, community organizations, school leadership are all ways that you can, I guess, start to be involved in these kind of opportunities. For me, it was helpful being involved in more like national advocacy programs, but also like staying very much grassroots and connected to my own community and advocacy work, and literally just like volunteering work around my area. Like, going into this role, I definitely, like, by no means was like I want to be an international diplomat or had that international experience. I was just a young person at the time who enjoyed also working with young people and applied. So I guess doing local work is really important. Also focusing on what you are really curious and care about. I always try and encourage people, like, think about some of the issues that you feel passionate enough that you would think, I would actually go to a protest about that. Like, I'm willing to fight someone about this issue, and that can always lead you into what you care about and what you want to make change in terms of the systems we're in. And also, don't wait for a perfect moment or time. I think, for me at least, it always feels like, I think even in this role, like, oh, maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I need to be further in my career to be equipped to do certain things. But there's no perfect moment or particular skill set that you need to feel like you belong in a certain space or can do leadership stuff. And I think it's really cool that all of you are part of this youth advisory committee, anyways, and are showing up on a Monday night to like do things for your local community. That in itself is really important work. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm also open to like having a chat. If anyone has questions as well, feel free to ask away. I always have my contact details there just because I know when at these things where we don't get to have too much of a long interaction, if you did want to um, email me and ask me any questions, or also wanted to chat about like any issues that are coming up or challenges in your community that you think that's actually really important and I want to bring that up to you, like that's my whole role. It's literally here to listen to everyone. So as much as I can come online and speak, I actually really love listening to everyone about some of the things that you wish our government would do more about. So yeah, my contact details are there. And also to like plug UN Youth, if you are interested and you're under 18, they've got like conferences where you can learn about like Model United Nations, international systems, all sorts of things. But also, if you're over 18, they have heaps of volunteering opportunities. And a lot of them are connected to like interstate travel. So you can travel interstate for different conferences and volunteer to, I guess, support the next generation of young people as well. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for having me, but also I'm open to any questions or things that people wanted to raise as well.
Thank you so much, Janice. Yes, we'll now open up. Does anyone have any questions for, bless you, for Janice? Yes, Jade.
Press the
There's a button on top.
goes green. Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Just want to start by thanking you for that presentation. That was really enlightening to hear. As a 23-year-old myself, I definitely relate on some of your struggles in your career path and wondering if you should be further along than you think you are. But it's great to hear that, across our whole country, we all share, similar hopes, similar dreams, and also similar challenges. So I'd just like to thank you for that. My question would be, just on average, what are your best hope stories that you hear from young people? Because in the media nowadays, there's so much doom and dread, and we're all a bit scared of what our future's going to be. But as someone who's well travelled like yourself, it'd be great to hear some positive news from what you're hearing from young people.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really great question. Thanks for asking it, because I always have to actually remind myself as well to be hopeful, because my job is literally everyone tell me anything challenging that you're facing, but also any recommendations for change as well. I think in terms of hopefulness, the most recent thing I can think of, so last week I went to Alice Springs, and I've never been to the Northern Territory before, and so that was a different experience for me in terms of it was the first time I've been there. It's super far and expensive to get there from New South Wales, so I'd just never been. But seeing the youth organisations there and what they do has been really hopeful. I met one organisation called Karma Radio. So they're a media organisation, but a lot of their staff happen to be young First Nations people who are maybe 20, 21 years old. And it was really cool to see, because some of them, it's English might be their fifth or sixth language. Their first five languages are all local Indigenous languages. And so they just go out and do videos in the community to preserve language and to help more regional and rural communities get access to local news and national news that's happening. So I thought that was really cool, seeing young people do stuff in the media that is more positive, because I think, overwhelmingly the media landscape can be terrifying. But another one that I heard of that was actually also quite cool, that I was wow, we can make change, was this one. I think he's 13. He's 13. I met a 13-year-old in Tasmania, and he was telling me how he, for 2 years, it's hopeful but also sad, the story at the same time. For 2 years he had to advocate for a bus to come to take him to school, because once a week there was just no buses on Fridays, and he lived 20 minutes from Hobart CBD. So I was I don't know why there's no buses. And then the Premier was on a texting basis with him to just be okay, we're getting the bus next week. He was 11 when he started advocating, which is hard, but by 13, he's got that route established, and now kids can all go to school. So sometimes I do hear really hopeful stories about, young people who are just ferociously harassing MPs and ministers and people in decision making to do things better, which I think is good. But yeah, also that like the media stuff or more collective action, I think is really nice. Like meeting different youth advisory groups or youth groups, I think like the challenges we all face are the same. And like even my role being volunteer, we all face the same challenges, but the fact that we all exist and continue to like do work despite being tired, I think that's what gives me hope. I hope that answered your question.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much for that.
All good.
I do have a couple of questions myself. First, is there any way we could possibly have a copy of the PowerPoint you have sent? Could you send that to
Yeah.
Shia or Deb? That would be amazing.
Oh yeah, I can definitely send that through.
Also, I was wondering, do you have any, like, because you're talking about how there was surveys of young people talking about what their current issue is. Do you have a survey available that we could publish anywhere or
Yes.
possibly take ourselves as well?
Yes, I can send that link as well with the PowerPoint. So I've got a survey link, and that's literally open to anyone. So I'll send it after via email so that all of you can fill it out as well.
That's amazing.
And yeah,
You did also, you did also mention you were coming back into SA. Do you know possibly what dates, if any of us, like, and what events you are going to?
yes. So let me actually stop sharing and whip out my calendar. Oh, actually, I can whip it here on my phone. But I will be in SA very soon again. So I'll be here, I think someone might have been in contact with Grace, who actually lives in SA, so she helps me organize everything. And I'll be coming literally this Friday, which is very soon. But if anyone is around and is like wants to have a coffee or lunch, literally feel free to email me, and I will try and make the time in my schedule. But I'll be here from Friday till Tuesday, so it'll be a couple of days that I'll be here, and I should have access to my whole itinerary, which I can share as well. But I know that I think I'll be going to. Oh, that's April. Okay, I don't know if I can access my itinerary, but I'll have a few things on. I'll have a consultation with the South Australian Rainbow Advocacy Alliance. I might be visiting Hope Street, which I visited last time as well. I'm also going to a school. I'm not sure which school, but I am going to a high school for a couple of hours on Friday morning. And then I think on Saturday I'm going to a like tree planting event, like a youth climate event where they're doing like tree planting and gardening stuff. So I'm going to visit, their advisory group. I might have something on Sunday. I know Monday's a public holiday in New South Wales, so it might also be a public holiday in SA. But those are the days I'm coming. And that's some of the things I'm doing. But I might also add in the email the list of organisations I'm meeting as well, in case, all of you wanted to know where I'm going. Happy to share it, but also happy if anyone's free at any point and wanted to meet, you can also feel free to let me know.
Thank you so much. Also, again, you are doing amazing work. Thank you. Has anyone else got any more questions they'd like to ask? I believe not. Again, thank you so much for coming. If you have any more final words you would like to say before we let you go.
Oh, good. I was going to say, thanks for having me, and hope the rest of the meeting goes well.
Oh yeah, I've just learned you of course can stay if you would like to and listen in to our meeting. It's up to you, of course.
That's all good. I actually might have to head off because I do have another meeting in 20 minutes. But thank you for the offer.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Now I'd like to move on to number 4, I guess. Confirming of the minutes. Is there any discussion or questions about the minutes of the meeting that happened on the 4th of May? You can have a quick look through right now if you haven't already. Is there any at all? Doesn't seem like it. Could I have a mover, please? Yes, Jade, thank you. Could I have a seconder? Yes, Lily, thank you. Carried unanimously. I didn't see everyone's hands, that's why I'm confused. Carried unanimously, thank you. Item 5, is there any business arising from the minutes? I'm guessing not. We'll move on then to a request that a motion, what? Okay. It's a motion from me to change the order item 5.2 Gawler Town Central Structure Plan, that the Gawler Town Central Structure Plan be brought forward, allowing for timely discussion on the matter. Pretty much our lovely Stacey is here to talk about Gawler Structure Plan, and if we're okay with moving it forward. I, of course, am the mover. Could I have a seconder if we all agree to this? So many hands. Molly, I saw yours first. Thank you. Is this carried or carried unanimously? Yeah. Carried unanimously. I'm saying that wrong. All those in favour, thank you. Mine is on page 20. I had, to be honest, have no idea where your guys are. So if you'd like to now flick through to that and invite Stacey to please speak.
Perfect. Can you guys hear me all right? Yep, perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys having me down today. We are day 1 of consultation, so appreciate you guys fitting me in on the very first day. You guys are my test run for my presentation here, so please feel free to provide feedback and ask questions. Purpose of why I'm here today, I'm going to distill these 242 pages into hopefully a 10-minute presentation. Purpose of why, nope, loading. Oh no, that's all right, we can keep, have you catch up. Oh, next page, please, thank you muchly. Perfect, so structure plan is a very planner term. So I am a town planner by background. I'm council's senior strategic planner. Basically, my job is to help the town of Gawler prepare for growth, prepare for change, prepare policies, strategies, plans, maps, policy work, and anything kind of random that kind of fits within that kind of planning policy bucket. Why we've done this draft structure plan for consultation is that you're probably all very aware that the town of Gawler is changing. We're currently at a population of around 27,000. We're expecting to grow upwards of 60, potentially 70,000 people just within our council region. We also have our adjoining councils of Barossa with Concordia 30,000, Roseworthy 80,000, Two Wells, however many extra. Cudler is going to bring 30,000 on its own. And so the town centre is going to potentially change, and we need to be able to prepare for that in order to set us up for success in the long term. A couple of other facts about why we're doing this project now and not waiting for growth to start or to essentially happen to us is Murray Street's currently carrying 18,000 vehicles a day. That's about 5,000 more than what we actually want it to based on the size and function of that road. So we need to start planning for where vehicles are going to go, particularly as we start to grow, because people love their cars. We have almost 4,000 car parking spaces at the moment. We believe that's probably meeting demand, but we'll continue to monitor that as the town centre continues to grow and change. We're very fortunate to have 66 state and local heritage places within our project area, and that's a real unique asset for town of Gawler. It's not everyone gets to have that, and that's a real strength for us. And so what we need to find is opportunities to work with that, but also allow opportunity to occur at the same time. We also have about 500 heavy vehicles come down Murray Street every day. Technically, we should have 0. So we need to provide alternatives for them, better signage and better ways for them to travel around our region. We also have a 12% tree canopy cover We want to aim for 30% as part of this project or start making moves towards that. And we only have 36 residential properties with probably less than 36 people living in them. So if you feel like when you walk out of here this evening and the town centre is really quiet and there's no people around, it's probably because there's no one that lives here. And so part of this project looks at opportunities to potentially change that over the long term. Next page, thank you. And so a structure plan basically helps us set a long-term vision. It'll guide land use, which is a very technical planning term about what types of activities are allowed where. The built form, so how do we want our buildings to look and feel, and how tall, how broad can they get, what design criteria do they need to respond to. Movement, transport and traffic, where all the vehicles going to go. And that includes public transport, footpaths, cycling, walking, all of that. Our public spaces, they're going to need to function a little bit better and meet accessibility, amenity, and they want to be a nice experience. We've talked about heritage already, and economy and activation. So what do we actually need within the town centre to make it busy and somewhere fun and somewhere that you actually want to spend time in? But importantly, this is it's a non-statutory plan, which means it doesn't have, it's not a decision by council, it's a guide, and it will help us set up what the future direction is for what we think we might need to do moving forward. Thank you. So we've established a vision, and behind that little box up in the right-hand corner, our vision statement is Gawler Town Centre, shocking, the heart of the region. So what our focus is Gawler Town Centre first, above all others, where we're hoping that the town centre can continue to remain the economic, the social and the civic hub for all of the activity around the town of Gawler moving forward. We know we're going to have some competing town centres coming forward in all of these new developments, and we want Gawler to kind of be front and centre in all of those opportunities. We're supported by 6 strategic directions, which is one being the heart of the region, one about keeping Gawler distinctively how it is, and pulling on those unique opportunities. We want to focus on good design. We want to focus on movement and getting people to where they need to go safely and efficiently. We want it to be vibrant and be exciting to come to. And we want it to be investment ready. So we're unashamedly trying to also attract investment into the town centre. We want different types of businesses, new development opportunity, different types of things happening within the town centre. Thank you. And we've also done some early engagement. And basically what the communities told us, and this was October last year, was they wanted more walkable and people-focused streets. Some people suggested reimagined Murray Street, which included one-way configurations, bringing back angled car parking, wider footpaths, a higher priority for pedestrians. People wanted to move through the town centre quicker, but others also wanted it to slow down. So part of my job is working out what direction is the recommended direction to go. People wanted to protect heritage and the character and what's unique about the Gawler Town Centre. A lot of people wanted more different types of shops, more cafes, more events, and there was a number of comments around activities for youth that weren't just necessarily pubs and bars and things like that. So interested to hear your thoughts through this consultation. And obviously a lot of people wanted to see more greener spaces and better connections to the river. So in phase 2 consultation, which is what opened today and runs through till the 26th of June, what we're basically testing is the vision and the strategic directions the right fit for what we need in the future? Are our key priorities aligned to what the community has previously told us and will tell us this consultation round? How should we grow and change over the time? Have we gotten it right? Should there be something else we should be considering? Have we completely missed the mark and have missed the biggest opportunity ever? Or what are the other opportunities and concerns that you might see for the town centre? So in the structure plan, there are some key moves which looks at just some high-level ways that we will look to change the town centre over time. But importantly, this is a 20 to 30-year plan, but we will come out the other side of this consultation period with a focused 10-year delivery plan, because we know that things will change over time, so we really want to focus on what we can actually achieve in the next decade. And we're going to break it down into smaller, achievable projects that can actually be delivered rather than just a nice, pretty strategic document that will finish and then will sit on my shelf and we'll never open it again. So that's the general intent. Thank you. So I wanted to show you a couple of little aspects that I thought you might be interested in. So part of what we're having a look at is how do we bring in some more activity within the town centre without necessarily having to go up 10 stories in height, and that's not what we're recommending, just to be clear. So through some clever design, there's some opportunities to bring in some residential, some visitor accommodation. I noticed that, one of the matters raised by your previous speaker was, cost of living, affordable housing. Well, you're not going to get that through continued sprawl and more housing in outer suburbs. What we need to start thinking a little bit smarter about bringing in some infill into our town centre, where you can leverage off existing buildings, infrastructure, assets, and hopefully make it a little bit more cost effective. So in this scenario, as an option, you could build on within existing buildings and actually create some, residential opportunities within the town centre that you wouldn't even really notice unless you knew it was there, which is pretty cool. So, thank you. Another one I noticed comes up as a theme generally with your group is, better public transport opportunities. So the structure plan includes some discussion around what are the opportunities, particularly around the Gawler Central Station, around rail and the surrounding land. We know that we're in a bit of a holding pattern with the Department for Infrastructure and Transport, who own the corridor, but we're hoping plans such as this can help with our future advocacy. Would be super keen to hear any feedback that you have on this that can support that. And next one. So I wanted to show you a couple of pictures of, if we get the structure plan right and the community supports in its current form, and we move forward with the structure plan as it's currently drafted, then this is how the town centre could potentially change over time. So Murray Street, in sections, can look a little bit tired. We'd love to be able to see some wider footpaths, some more greening coming into the space, which would hopefully in turn encourage some new development, some more upper levels, maybe some extra office space, maybe some apartments, different types of activities within that area. You'll notice there's kind of like a bit of a red kind of treatment to the ground. What we're looking at doing is bringing all the pavement up so that way everything's flat. So if you're in a wheelchair or have a pram or a bike or a scooter, you don't have to worry about going down curbs. It's all flush and makes it for a much nicer pedestrian experience. Really probably one of the key things to know with this plan is that we are prioritising place and the pedestrian experience over vehicles. They're still considered, but they're not the priority. And so we had a look at a few options. As I mentioned, some of the community said, bring back one-way streets, bring back angled car parking. So we tested it. So that's the vision on the right. Looks beautiful. Heaps of greening, really wide footpaths. You could have some outdoor dining, but it cost more than double. And it also meant that the bus couldn't come down Murray Street and neither could emergency vehicles. And that's just high level, some of the issues that you have to consider when people throw out suggestions. They sound really good and they look excellent in a plan, but functionally it's not going to work. So we've gone with the medium change option, which just has a much nicer outcome and still allows for two-way traffic. And then we've got an option on High Street. We do actually have two options for High Street, but this is the higher change option, where if we had some adjoining development and this is the medical centre on the corner of Cowton and High Street, if they came to us and said, we're going to develop our site, we'd go, great, maybe we can actually invest in High Street and we can actually make that a dedicated cycle path so people don't have to try and fight against traffic down Murray Street. Next one. And this is Victory Square. So one of the few places that's open past 6 p.m. So you've got Zambreros. And so under this framework, potentially you could see the types of changes that you can see on the right-hand side, where it goes from a bit of an older single-storey brick, 80s kind of build probably, to a two-storey activated kind of precinct with outdoor dining, which is probably something that we're lacking a little bit of in the town centre at the moment. You'll also see that there's an additional pedestrian crossing that we're proposing, which would, and we're encouraging potentially some wombat crossings as opposed to the fight for your life situation that currently happens to try and dodge traffic. So phase 2 consultations opens today, closes on Friday the 26th of June. We're wanting to hear feedback on the vision, the directions, opportunities, the planning and design criteria, heritage, the streetscape, concept. There's a whole bunch of information within the structure plan. I'm not expecting everyone to review all the pages. In the coming days, we'll have 7 fact sheets up online, which will summarise what you really need to know about these key themes. You can go and have a look at that. We've got an online survey, we've got slider tools, we've got shorter activities where you can just post one bit of feedback. You can have a look at what everyone else is saying. And yeah, heaps of different ways to engage should you have some time. So we're also doing some pop-up sessions. So if you think of some questions and you don't want to ask it today, but you want to pop down and have a chat to us a different time, all on the Your Voice page. We've got 4 pop-ups around the town centre. We're also doing a guided feedback session where we're actually going to take our project consultant team and we're going to do a walk around the town centre, and we're actually going to stop, have a chat about the proposed changes in particular locations and get feedback live on the go. I've done this once before, it's really, really cool. So if anyone's interested in coming along to that, there's an RSVP link on the Your Voice page. And we also do community group meetings like this, and we accept written submissions in any format that you want to provide it, except for social media comments, which I'm not checking. Or I'm looking personally, but I'm not recording them. So super interesting what's coming through already in one day. So basically, at the end of the 26 days, we go away, we have a look at all the feedback, we analyse everything, work out what the key themes are. We then decide if we need to make any changes to the structure plan. Once we finalise that document, we present it to council, which will hopefully be at the August ordinary meeting for decision, and hopefully they adopt it. And then moving forward from that, basically from September, we start going into implementation, and we start delivering on some of the projects in that, already in the kind of pipeline for projects we want to kick off straight away would be a signage and wayfinding strategy and some of the planning work to make some of these buildings and opportunities happen. So for people that provide feedback, you'll get notified of how your feedback's been considered, and there'll be a full engagement report that gets published.
Thank you so much,
And that's it.
Stacey. Yes, we will get to questions now, but before that, I do believe this was correct, the meaning that happened last year. Abby and Aislinn were in attendance. Yes. I don't know how long you guys stayed, because I went to the first meeting and left due to personal reasons. Abby is still going.
Yeah, she's still flying the flag.
Aislinn would have probably left for personal reasons as well. That is amazing. Now, questions. I did see Lily's hand pop up. Do you have any? Yes, please go ahead.
I don't like these microphones. So one thing was with the wider footpaths, a lot of people park on like the side of the road in like do you know what I mean? Like in between the buildings and the road, there's like the sort of almost like a lane of width for car parks. With the wider footpaths, there was a part near the start where there was a concern about not having enough car parks for the amount of traffic we're getting. Would that like further reduce that? Is there planning, like considering that?
Yeah, so there may be some changes to the parking configurations. So some of the roads, and you'll see all the concept plans if you have a flick through the structure plan. For example, we're proposing to change Todd Street to one direction. So it would be left turn in from Murray Street. And in order to establish wider footpaths, there would be some potential changes to car parking. We're looking at opportunities to offset them in alternative locations, but really the main focus of what we're trying to do is actually encourage people that it's okay to not park outside the shop that you want to go to. And part of that is us creating a nicer experience when you walk through the town centre. Currently, if you walk down Todd Street, it's either freezing cold, super windy, or boiling hot. There's no trees, there's no shade, and there's not really a safe footpath to walk down. So what we'd love to be able to do is create an opportunity for people to walk just that little bit further. Through any of the new development that is proposed that may come to the town centre, they will all need to provide their own car parking. or come up with a scenario where they get together and they all share a spot for car parking in order to service their different developments. So we're not looking for a net loss of car parking, but at the moment we're not proposing to build any more new multi-storey car parks using council funds, because we've got Finner Street car park, it's not fully utilised. Until that is, there's probably not a good business case to do it. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, and I had one more thing. Public transport, I don't have many more comments upon what you said, but just that it is very important that we develop that further. Yeah, and it's not like, it's been brought up as an issue for tourism, but it's like not an issue for tourism, it's an issue for like accessibility and the environment. And, yeah. Thank you.
No, fabulous, thank you.
So on your parking theory you've just rambled on about, correct me if I'm wrong, most of those photos were showing that only on the photo showing left being this side and right being on the side. Like we're currently on the left side of most of those photos, right side, sorry, on most of those photos had only parking. The left side completely lost parking. Is that just from these images alone being how they were rendered, or is that going to be correct? Also, I've lost my mic for a second. On your thing of putting apartments into Gawler, taking away those parking spaces by increasing the foot thing would be a terrible, it's counteracting your whole thing. And then you're saying you don't want it higher than 1 or 2 stories buildings. So where are these extra car parks going to come? Because you have a bunch of buildings, and you're also mentioning the car parks over there and over here are both not currently utilized, but if you go on there at any time during the current peak traffic or peak shopping times, they're both very full. So you've counteracted quite a lot of your own statements, and it's so surprising that this is the same problems that were happening in meeting 1 I went to, and considering now we're months later from meeting 1, they're still arising.
Yeah. So it's not limited to 1 to 2 stories. It's limited 1 to 2 stories at the street face. This plan allows for up to 5 stories, but there's very strict design criteria. So when you're standing on the street, you'd almost essentially not be able to see the majority of any of the bulk and scale. It would be set back and designed in a manner that you actually wouldn't see it, but it would exist. So there's definite opportunities to increase that scale. Part of the design criteria that we're having a look at as well is also introducing things like basement car parking or cantilevered car parking, using things like if you do development on High Street or on the backside, on the east side of Murray Street, which is where we are, you've got hill that you can kind of cut into. So if you do it smart, then you can get car parking in that. In regards to that building, you would actually be coming into car parking from High Street, where we're actually not putting car parking at the street, we're putting car parking behind buildings. So again, when you're walking down Murray Street, it's a much nicer experience. It's called an enclosure, where you feel kind of protected and safe, and there's heaps of activity. All the car parking's hidden at the back. And what was the other one?
It's quite a lot. If Main Street, will we only have parking on one side of the road, as all your images only have parking on one side of the road? They've also got an extra road here, what's quite intriguing to know if we're just ditching.
That's not a, so that's a car park entrance into Victory Square that you can see on the other side of the building, which is still currently shown. And the other 2 is, one's next to the ANZ Bank is the existing pedestrian footpath, and there would obviously be extra pedestrian space on the other side of the fence, which is the right-hand side of the building. So still proposing to retain car park on both sides of the street. Not looking to reduce that, but what we are looking to do is bring out the curb in particular spots in order to bring in greening on corners, and through the median, we'd definitely look at bringing in trees and greening into that centralised median, just to kind of break that up, provide some shade when you're crossing the street as well. So, but yeah, definitely parking on both sides of all roads. I can't think of a scenario off the top of my head where we've removed any.
We do have, before we get to Lily Jade, apparently your hand was up before as well. Oh, you're just freaking out over things I was saying? Because I saw Molly and Aislinn doing it too. If you don't have a question,
I was just looking at, I'm looking at the whole strategic plan, the 242 pages, the whole lot. And yeah, Darcy and I were chatting a bit before just regarding emergency services and having access to that. And I can see that Hill Street at some point is It's like a long-term plan to make that one way with like,
High Street? Yeah.
High Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. But I can see in some of the pictures there's like cutouts. There's like a block of
Yeah, so there's
trees,
two
like
options for High Street. So
Yeah.
there's one that's like a low embellishment
if I can
option
find it
that you could do as like it's called lighter, quicker, cheaper, where it would cost
Yeah.
council a lot less money, but it would allow us to basically trial a one-way
Yeah.
road before you go and invest a whole bunch of money in something if it doesn't work. So in that scenario, you'd paint the cycling footpath and you'd bring in planter boxes to act as the vehicle barrier to protect that cycle pedestrian footpath. And then you'd have a one-way street for vehicles, which in this scenario is proposed to go north-south.
Yeah.
And if that was successful and everyone supported that, in, like council, then we would have a potential we'd have a look at developing a business case, which would then be the long-term solution, which is the image I showed.
Yeah.
And that includes things like undergrounding the power lines, which is what's the most expensive
Long-term,
bit. And that would be the long-term solution to that. And you'd basically do that once and then you wouldn't do any large changes again.
This is page 60 if anyone's wondering, and it still has like cutouts where like cars could pull into
Yeah.
or emergency services could pull into.
Yeah.
And just my own opinions. I've been living in Whyalla for the past year and a bit, and their main street, like what was like once their bustling main street had all their major shops, is not really a thing anymore. Like there's a couple nice cafes that you go to and whatnot, and it's due to the big like multi-shopping complex that has like your Coles, your Woolies, your like EB Games, your all that, you know, that kind of attractions that most people, you know, you want to do your food shopping, you want to do whatever, and it's not close to anything. So I can't go do my food shopping and then walk down to the tavern or the pub or whatever and go get, you know, a coffee or something. Whereas I think Gawler has a positive that our like main Coles is like already established there and it's not too far to walk down to Java Hut or wherever. So I think having some like integration from the shopping centre and like encouraging people to come down into the main street, you know, park their car, do their food shopping and then come and enjoy our town is an asset that Whyalla no longer has. And, you know, as the town gets older and people start leaving regional towns, we want to try and stop people from doing that in Gawler. You know, come and enjoy our town. Do your shopping if you need to, but then come and see what else we've got and, you know, have some outdoor dining and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's perfect. And part of what good planning does is creates like visual cues. So you might go do your food shopping at Woolworths and you go, oh, something over there, that looks pretty cool. I'm going to walk over there. And you toddle over there and you go, oh, that looks pretty good. And you're like, oh, there's something across the road. I'm going to go have a look there. Or there's something I've picked up in a window. So basically, if we do it well, we want to keep people out of their cars for the longest period possible and have them jump into a whole bunch of shops and community activities that they never thought that they were going to do. And then they stay here for an extra hour and they spend a whole bunch of money and everyone's happy. You know, if we do our job well, then, you know, that's the experience that people will have and everyone will enjoy coming into the town centre and you'll have unique experiences when you come here. Part of that's the signage and wayfinding strategy as well, because new people particularly don't know where to go in order to access what they're looking for. So part of that will be, that's why that's top of the list in terms of new projects as a kicking off point. So no, excellent feedback, thank you.
Oh, this is on. I had a note about, Emerson mentioned earlier the like apartment complex and parking with that. Is there going to be any kind of like specialised parking development for the apartment complex? Because if I had a house, I wouldn't want to park too far away from that, especially if I was going to that house, say, at night. I don't think I'd feel safe walking a certain distance to get from my car to my house at night.
Yeah, so 2 issues. You absolutely wouldn't feel safe walking to your car at night at the moment because there's no one around. The more people you bring into a space, the safer it actually becomes by having eyes on the street. It's like a incidental safety kind of mechanism. So we'd love for people to be able to feel safe no matter when they come into the town centre. But generally how planning works is that you need to have your car parking within your own site. When I say that if multiple landowners get together and come up with a design and they want to share a car park, generally it would be in proximity to where their developments are. Otherwise, they're not investing in it and they're not going to want to do it. So I would envisage that it would be a shared space with 3 adjoining developments, as an example of how that could occur. But yeah, generally, all the alternative is it must be within their own site. And some of the designs that we'll share in the coming days will start to show where those car parking spaces would be located within some of these developments. It's hard to see on this one, but we've got some more aerials that we're just tweaking at the moment where you'll be able to see.
Thank you.
That's all right, thank you.
We'll go to Cody or the mayor who wants to speak first? Cody?
Yes, so just something, Stacey, that you've shown us before is that map of the actual usage of our car parks during peak periods. And I think that would be really helpful for a lot of people, because I think our main issue with car parking is not the number of car parks, it's car park visibility, communication.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you were showing some wider pedestrian footpaths and safer looking pedestrian footpaths and stuff to the car parks. I just thought it might be worth talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, I can absolutely share that plan as well, just for your guys' information. We did an audit where our our car parking officer went out and did audits a number of times a day and actually went through all the different car parking areas and counted how many were within that space, so we could get a bit of a scale of how busy they are. It was generally pretty, had a lot of capacity other than your very peak time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 8:30 in the morning, kind of, associated with school and things like that. But even then, there was still capacity in every single car park. And so at the moment, it is exactly as Councillor mentioned, that, it's more of a directional. People don't know necessarily where the best car parking place is to the place they want to go, so you'll go to what's most familiar. The car park, the council car park, that is absolutely getting busier. I don't necessarily have an issue with that. I park in that car park. If I can't park there, I just park somewhere else and I walk. I know that's not the norm for everyone, but that will start to become a behaviour change that people will need to accept as well over time. So.
We'll go to Nathan.
Thank you. And I think one of the key takeaways that Stacey mentioned was just around the fact that there's going to be no net loss of car parks as well. That was one of the major points that we are trying to make. That said, with population increase, we do look at more cars coming into the system, but with that population increase and that activation, if we are talking about development happening, the on-site parking is going to be paramount. I personally think there was a bit of a missed opportunity when the Audi came online, for example. I think we could have seen an Undercroft car park connected in with the Big W, personal opinion there. But I think those sorts of developments do happen when we actually don't have those alternative ideas embedded in some of our planning strategies, and that's what those sorts of opportunities actually do become available when we do tell the market, look, we understand development's coming, we understand population growth is coming, but if we are going to see it happen, we want it to look like this, or like this, or like this. I'm really heartened to hear your comments in regards to supermarkets and the like, because some of the ideas that are flowing through are around the Coles complex at the end of the street, providing a more palatable linkage between public transport at the end of the street there with the train station, some sort of pedestrian walkway, maybe a mix of multi-level car park, but tastefully done, but directing people through and then getting you up to the main street. And I think these are the sorts of things we do need to be thinking about, because again, the population will just keep on increasing, and we want to be very, very clear that we acknowledge it's coming, but we do want to increase foot traffic without losing the ability to be able to have people come in and utilise our town as well.
Yes, Aislinn?
I was just wondering, I haven't looked at the full plans or anything yet, but what the alternative route would be for the trucks and like possibly the people who don't want to have the slower drive through and they want to, because there's the mix of like people who want to slow down and who want to speed up, like what the alternate route for that is.
Yeah, no, perfect question. So the trucks shouldn't be coming through at all at the moment. They're actually like, I want to say legally, but there's signage to say no heavy vehicles are above this load, but they still do it anyway. Generally, they should be going down Julian Terrace. So the concept plans introduce road reconfiguration around Light Square that will help trucks move around Murray Street instead of going through it. We've also got things around Schomburg Drive and things that are associated with Concordia, which will take time, but that's also a consideration of alternative routes for those. And I've forgotten your other part of your question, which was... Oh yeah, and then so you had the people that want to go slow and then also go fast. For the same reasons, we're having a look at the High Street one-way configuration. So if people are coming down Lindock, rather than coming down to the intersection, there would be an alternative where they could go down High Street, which would remove some of the pressure from Murray Street. Going the other way, you could turn right out Cowan and go around Light Square, and we're proposing some changes so you don't have to go all the way around the largest roundabout ever. And actually making that a proper park that can be used and then bringing the road to the other side. And so you can actually go down Cowan, around, much easier, and then connect up to Reed and Julian as an alternative. So part of what we're recommending for the town centre is actually reducing the traffic speed as well, so bringing it down to 40 kilometres an hour. So it becomes a deterrent for people wanting to use it as a through route. But a nicer experience for anyone on the street. So, and then the alternatives help reduce that traffic across the network. Yeah. There'll obviously have to be a lot more design work and testing if the concept is supported. But yeah, that's the intention behind it. Thank you.
One of my biggest questions is with the one-way street of High Street. Considering this building does ask emergency service to come through High Street, I'm guessing most buildings on this street does, what happens with that? Because considering our hospital's that way, if on your map the one way is going this way, if an ambulance was to come in and let's say we had an injury here, can they just, I don't know the legality of an ambulance, can it just go that way? And if so, how's that going to work considering it is a one-way, there is going to be cars going that way? So what happens there?
Short answer. It's two-way up until the council car park, so depending on where it is. And then it would be from the council administration car park, I should say, down would be one way. They would essentially have to go a different route and they'd be fully aware of that. Their next best would be Daly, if they're going to go up or down to Murray Street. Or East Terrace, thank you. So you've got the different road networks that you could go up to, but also with these proposed changes, you potentially would see less vehicles on Murray Street as well, which would potentially be an alternative. We're not trying to encourage vehicles generally, they'll try to go a different route anyway, but there are other alternatives.
I drive a car down any of our streets half the time. Yes, Abby?
Hello, Stacey. Thank you so much for all your information, by the way. We all really appreciate it. This is coming from an entirely selfish note of I'm slightly nosy and would just like to know, as I'm sure everyone would, has Town of Gawler, or you specifically, had much communication with emergency services on what routes they take most commonly or what might be most useful for them?
They will be forwarded a copy of this for feedback, as are Department of Infrastructure and Transport, who have been looped in throughout the entire process and have attended some of our workshops. So they'll all SES, all of those consultation groups always receive the notification and opportunity to provide feedback. So yeah, if there's anything pertinent that we need to be aware of, they will advise us and we will refine accordingly. Thank you.
Will you have any more questions? Yes, Leah.
Yeah, just to probably add on to there, I'm pretty sure the Gawler Integrated Transport Study also did identify some of the,
that's true.
some of the emergency services pathways and the like of how they perform now and an optimum performance with population growth and modelling, etc. as well. And that's where public transport came in as well, which I think we talked about that plan at the start of last week, I believe. So it'll be good to bring that one up as well.
Yeah, thank you. I should say that, this plan isn't starting from scratch. It's taking into account the Gawler Growth Framework from 2025, the Gawler Integrated Transport Strategy, the Greater Adelaide Regional Plan. So we're basically building on all of that work that's previously done and just making it into a format that can be implemented. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Cody, you've also got a question, yes?
Yeah, so I know our CEO is just here to listen, but I thought I heard something interesting earlier. Our CEO actually used to be the CEO of Whyalla. And so there was a few comments about the Whyalla Main Street and shopping precincts. I just thought you might have some thoughts.
Might not have been at the same time, but...
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I can give a little bit of insight. And you're quite right. Historically, there was a few things that happened that really killed that main street. So one of the key things was they developed a big box retail store on one end, so the Harvey Norman shop. Now, it's extremely strange that they faced a Harvey Norman store away from the main street. So if you look up the main street of Whyalla and you look in a big blank concrete wall. So that was first nail in the coffin. And then the residential growth actually went out whichever way it goes, but away from the main street. So when I was there was a couple of things we were looking at doing, and one was trying to encourage residential development back around that area, which is something Stacey talked about, the importance of getting residential growth here. The problem with the Harvey Norman store was there was so much investment that the ability to move that and change that was very hard. The other thing that happened with Whyalla was all the uncertainty economically around the steelworks. And that kind of put a dampener on people investing. The difference we've got here is we've got really high growth. So Whyalla, as an example, stayed static for, basically it hasn't shrunken, but it hasn't grown. And it's just stayed static. Whereas the benefit we've got here, and it can be a negative, but we'll use it as a benefit here, is high population growth, which brings money and investment with it, which will support this. So they're probably the two or three key differences. Thanks.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realise that was it. I've been told to move on, so we are going to move on.
Thank you so much.
Could I? Oh, you have. Is there any more questions? Yeah. Okay. Is there a mover? Lily? Is there a seconder? Jade? All those in favour? Sorry, I've been told I need to read which part. The officer recommends that the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee notes that the Gawler Town Central Structure Report, our mover is, again, Lily, and our seconder is Jade. And I believe it was carried unanimously. I did see everyone's hands up. Thank you so much, Stacey, for speaking with us. Will we now be moving back to, I believe, item 4 on the thing, the decision reports of 4.1, the Youth Sponsorship Program. We do have 3 people here, well, not here today, but are asking for money. We do have one representing Australia in a whole, and there are other 2 representing just SA. So the one that's representing Australia will be $400 rather than the normal $200. So, of course, the first question will be, after you guys are done reading it, would you guys like to vote on this all as one, or would you like to vote on this separately? All those in one, like we'll stick up, everyone who wants to do all at the same time, put up your hands. That's pretty much everyone. Okay, is there any questions on any of these people here at all? No? And Do I need to? So the officer recommends that the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee recommends to council that the application for the youth sponsored program receive the following young people's total $800 be approved. Charlotte Hutchison for artistic roller skating, $200, representing SA. Sienna Sutton softball, representing Australia, for $400. Darcy Cochran for gymnastics, representing South Australia, $200. Can I please have a mover? Molly, thank you. Could I also have a seconder, please? Darcy, thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you so much. To keep this meeting rolling, we'd now like to move on to item 4 here. 4.5, the Youth Development Program. It says 4.1. 5.1. Sorry, my bad. Debbie, could you please speak on this?
Yes, thank you. Through the chair. I've just got a few notes since last meeting. The July school holidays will be launched this week, so you've got a flyer on your table, and I will be calling for volunteers, and those of you that are also volunteers will get a message. So you all got messages about the 2 courses being offered as training the safe environments and first aid. At this stage, we have 3 people for the safe environments. If there's anybody else, could you please let me know, because otherwise I'm going to open those tickets to the public. Obviously, we put that training on for you guys. So if there is anyone else, I know a lot of you already have it for your work, that's fine. But if you do want to do it, can you please let me know as soon as possible? Otherwise, I'll open those tickets up. And obviously, first aid's the same. So we will be calling for volunteers. We've got some really cool stuff coming up, some different things. A lot of things have been planned for a long time. A couple of young people running programs for the very first time, which will be really cool to see them starting their own businesses and coming back as contractors from being, youth space members. So that's really nice. Term 3 is underway, and we'll be planning for that, and we'll have more news on that next meeting, since we've got another meeting next month. We've also got the brand new sponsorship flyers on your table. If you want to take posters, if you are involved in sport or go anywhere, you can put them up. There are some printed larger versions here. Otherwise, if you don't want this flyer, please leave it here, don't put it in the bin, because we will use them. We've had some professionally printed, because obviously this is the new image. Since this new image has hit social media, obviously we've had sponsorships coming in straight away, so it is good to change the image at least once a year, because otherwise everyone it blends in. So sponsorships seem to be picking back up again, and I guess now that they're worth applying for, because they've been increased, so that's really good. On the weekend, I did attend a launch of a Festival of Words. If anyone is a book person or anything, there's some information on that. So that's coming up in Gawler in July. So that's a great event. But yeah, thank you very much.
Give that flyer out to people. The book ones, if they want. Any questions or discussions on this? No. The officer recommends that the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee notes that the Youth Development Program Update Report. Is that all I have to say? Could I please have a mover? Abby, thank you. Could I also have a seconder, please? Molly, thank you. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. We already did that. Oh, it's straight to the back page. We now should be moving on to item 8, if I'm correct. Items listed for discussion. 8.1, the presidential meeting verbal update. I believe I've not done any of that yet, so that is still nothing to report. The 8.2, accessibility to transport. Myself and Lily will provide an update. Hopefully I do have notes here if we were to read. You have also things. It was also provide an update on the transport meeting that happened with James Angus MP? Agnes, sorry. And that was also included the Mayor Nathan Shanks and CR Cody. What does CR mean? Councillor Cody, thank you. So do you want to speak on something, Lily? Or?
So, yep, like Emerson said, we had a meeting with James, Agnes, Nathan and Cody. I think it went pretty well. We discussed sort of the reasons behind needing transport, which was, of course, like accessibility for people, and like changing populations and changing infrastructure and how to like accommodate the changes in our populations. We need to change the infrastructure. And we briefly discussed bus routes, but we haven't really made a solid plan yet. We'll have another meeting in the future to do that. James Agnes did bring up that this has been a point that has been brought up by a lot of people, that public transport is not working well enough for people and it like needs to be fixed. Emerson took more specific notes.
Oh yeah, to add on to that, again, I actually can't read this first note, but they did. James did have a meeting with someone else. I think this the person who mainly runs the transport. That meeting was cancelled until June this year. So, Transport Minister, thank you. Again, not like I said, we're not the first to talk about this. He also agrees. He was very open to saying that he 100% agrees on how bad the public transport is currently. He's also mentioned that the DIT, I believe I'm saying that correctly, is a committee, says that the buses are not used, so they won't fix it. That was a quote from James and from them.
I have something to bring up, and this is something that I said in the meeting, but the reason they're not used is because they don't work. And so we sort of have this logic that's like, oh, we're not going to fix them because no one's using them, but no one's using them because the system is broken. And if you fix the system, people would use them, but they don't see that there's need for the system because it doesn't work well enough to be used.
They also, some of these notes, I've written them very like fastly and also so short. One of them is here just saying taxi is bad too, but that was on the point of that the taxi systems are bad, plus also the point of the call-on buses that you can have are quite bad because, let's say, you have to call 3 days in advance minimum, and you also, let's say you booked 10 a.m. If there was a bus booked on the same day at 8 a.m. and they're running late to drop them back home, you're now stuck here waiting for a bus. What, in the long run of the design for older people, is pretty good. On the short, like the long run of younger people who don't have cars or people who just haven't gotten their license yet or any reason they need to take this, and it's quite an important thing, like a doctor's or whatever, it's pretty bad. Yes, Lee?
We did also discuss how the people who need the transport the most can't access it, and how also taxis are like way more expensive than catching a train or a bus, and they are probably more reliable than a train or a bus because they're picking up one person or like a few people, but it's just not affordable for the people who really need it to be taking taxis.
I did see Chris, I believe your name was. You did put up your hands.
Just a very quick question. Have we clearly articulated to James, for example, why they're not working?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
He does say on here for them to talk.
So just for clarity, the meeting with James Agnes MP was the pre-meeting before the meeting. The action sitting that we have on the agenda is still very much live, but we took the opportunity to meet with our local member to talk about why we even have this on our agenda in the first place. And it was good to hear that it's certainly being brought up across the board, but getting the youth perspective I think is a really strong point to make. We're also organising a meeting with our traffic engineer, Richard Frimpong, as well, to talk about the Gawler integrated traffic strategy that does actually identify from a data piece of where the missing links are in the bus systems and public transport more generally, like buses picking you up an hour before your train might leave, so you're not going to catch that bus because why would you? You know, all those sorts of things to identify. And what that will actually help us do is get that local government language that we do need and cross-reference it with the experiences we do see coming through from the users of public transport, or the lack of users of public transport, because Lily was absolutely 100% correct, where the data we have is no one's using the bus system. Yeah, because there is no usable bus system. That's the point. And here is our strategy that actually backs up these comments, these real life comments in Town of Gawler strategy documents. So it's a watching brief at the moment, but the meeting before the meeting, I think, was constructive, because I think we've got a new meeting to have before the meeting. So this is going to be a 3-meeting process, but I think we're going to come in a lot better armed than if we went straight to the minister first up. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Cody.
Yeah, so just in terms of the specifics, yes, the word Springwood was mentioned about 30 times. It's, you know, the fact that none of the new developments have a bus route at all, because the bus route hasn't been updated in 15 years since Springwood, the Aspire Estate in Everton South, the Oleana Waters expansion. Yeah, that's the part that's all in the planning that we've done before, and I think that was part of the reason for having a pre-meeting before our meeting, is when we actually meet with the Minister for Transport, we want to be armed with all the facts. We can't just go in and say, we think buses should be improved. We need to go in and say, here's all the areas missing the bus routes. The Town of Gawler conveniently has a plan for you. It's on your desk. Let's do it. And so I think that's what we're working towards.
To go on that, we did draw a map, and by we, I did while they talked. It's very badly drawn, but if you would like to see it, it's just a couple of notable areas. I'm very bad at directions and places, but we had just like a main bus line into Gawler, the hotspots you guys were talking about, and then I was saying where you could deviate off into Springwood would be from the hospital, and then it would go around in Springwood's housing in the shopping centre, then come back to where the hospital is. And it was drawn. They did take it. I don't know if he'll use it, but he did take it. I did mention constantly to add more to it, to fix it. I hope he does. It was also written down here that Roseworthy is looking at train services and stuff, like he's looking at train service, but Barossa was an unknown at this current time. I don't know if that his Barossa is still as unknown or not. We also mentioned during the meeting about securities on the train. I have been confirmed by someone who regularly uses the train recently during afternoons and morning time. There is no security. It really is only at night. Unfortunate, but we can't do much since it's its own. They have their own private security. I did see Lily. You did put up your hand. Do you still have something you would like to say?
Yeah, just on the importance of security on the train during the day, because things do happen every hour of the day, and I have people my age who catch the train to go to the city to go to dance after school, so like 4 p.m, and they still get like harassed on the train, and that shouldn't be happening to teenage girls in school uniform. So we do really need to encourage security officers for the trains during the day.
Someone's YouTube and calendar is up. Do anyone have questions, of course? Does Nathan and Cody or Lily would like to add anything else before we open up to questions? Any questions at all? No? I've been told to skip it. Does anyone have any questions on this matter? He doesn't seem like it. I don't actually know when the next meeting we will have is. Soon. So we will come, it's in the system. We will come back to you with more notice once we have that. We will now move on to 8.3, the youth program updates. Abby Dale, your name is being written on here, so you will be roped in to talk about drama, please.
Incredible. Thank you so much. We've chosen our show for Fringe. It is called Shakesplosion. How good. It's every Shakespeare just collaborated together. It should be a lot of fun. I believe the lovely Deb still has to do the licensing for it, so thank you so much for that. We're not doing it. Yeah, we are hopefully going to do one show next Fringe, which should be really exciting. Makala was away this week. Oh, we're doing 2. That's good. That's great. Makala is away this week, so I took on drama today. Sorry, guys. My condolences. I think that's almost it with drama at the moment. We are having auditions in the holidays, as you can see on the flyer. If you have a look at the flyer, I think these are open to everyone,
Yeah,
which
everyone.
is very exciting.
Everyone.
And
anyone.
before that, I'm teaching a physical theatre workshop, which is going to be so good.
There
Very,
is an
very
age limit,
exciting.
by the way. Like, it is open to anyone and everyone, but there is an age limit of 12 to 25.
I'm so sorry, guys.
You would
down the end of
have
the
to
table.
ask
you can't
Debbie
audition
and beg.
for Hamlet. I'm so sorry.
You might have to beg.
Fair point.
Our analytics are still open, by the way.
This is true.
The analytics or the mayor? Okay.
I think that's pretty much it in regards to Fringe, but we are lucky enough to have a lovely prop team which will be working with us on costuming. I'm probably going to be roped into directing again, which is going to be great. Get ready for joint trauma. That's about it on drama. Thank you.
Abby, you should really close the analytics. I don't know if we care that much, but it shouldn't probably be open to the public. Yeah, okay. I've been told to skip bed and cooking. Is that correct? Okay, 8.5, youth event updates. Anything young people have, attended? Oh, there is a spelling error there. In the community. I've been written here, Darcy and Jade, you do have something to talk about. So you also roped into something about the town band gig. We would love to learn more.
Just that we have our big middle of the year gig coming up in July. And I will just mention something that I did recently, not in our community, but in the Barossa. I went to the Tanunda, their Melody Night, which is their big Tanunda Town Band concert. And they had 900 people attend, and they have 2 different shows. So that's 1,800 people across the community come to watch their local town band play, which is such a different vibe, I guess, that we have in Gawler. Live music, other than pub music, I'm sure the drama kids would know. It's a very niche audience that comes to watch your performances, and I think, in the Barossa, majority it was people older than 50, I will say, which I don't think you would see a lot of people coming to youth performances that are, 70, 80. There was someone who was 95 at this show. Go off. But yeah, it was just a different environment, seeing the Barossa versus Gawler, and we're not that far apart, just a different culture that we have with live music and community-based live music. So just something to think about when you're doing your next live performances and monitoring who's in your audience and who shows up time after time.
Yes, Abby?
The thing to go off of what Jade just said, you are so incredibly right, but also the sheer lack of funding for regional areas that's not metro, so just Adelaide, for the arts is unbelievable. Even just trying to get funding for traffic management for an event is near impossible because it costs so much, and also insurance as well is incredible, because I promise you I've tried to put events on, but I think it's just the amount of back-to-back emails where you get nothing in response is really difficult. And like obviously we're so lucky to have like the art sponsorship program and we have community grants, but it's just so difficult. So I think the more people who express their interest in something like that, the more we can be like, hello, funding body, look how many people would like this particular thing.
Aislinn, you have something to add?
This is a bit random, but on the youth arts and creative space, a lot of schools in the area do like hundreds of shows. So if you ever wanting to go out and support, it always goes, especially I know Trinity does, they have the dance, the music and the musicals, and Xavier, and I don't know what the other schools do, but there's always stuff around on their Facebook pages and that if you want to go support school kid age people doing theatre and that.
We did have a young person, Kane, tonight give out a poster for 2 different plays that are happening. Molly still has it. That's great. Molly, do you want to read out anything on there?
How to read this?
Now Productions.
Oh, but it's Now Productions. Where are they?
They're Elizabeth area,
Yeah,
but most people.
yeah. So they put on. Like, I get a flyer like 3 times a year from this kid. So the Shedley theatres. That where
Yeah,
that's where it's being performed, and they're doing 13. That's for the older kids. So the 25th of June to the 27th, they have one every night, and then they have younger kids who are doing Alice in Wonderland Junior, and that's the 12th to the 13th of June. So yeah, it's very So just to support them, I guess. Yeah, there's a bunch of these flyers in the youth space if you want to grab one and go. Yeah.
If you know anyone performing in them or someone's just like randomly, do ask what time, because there is a split cost, so do ask which days to go to support them. Anyone else have anything else they've done recently? Abby again!
That it's me yapping when it comes to the arts. Groundbreaking. I recently was lucky enough to be invited back to my high school to do a career talk. I was the only person from my year level there. And it was really interesting because I went to Xavier, I graduated in 2022. And it was really fantastic to talk to all the arts and drama students there because they had no idea we even had drama here. Because in our district. There we go. Technically in our district council area. But hopefully, if they work, live or play in Gawler, then they can come to... Okay, this is great. As well as that, I think, because I'm starting to work with lots of different councils as a contractor, either teaching workshops or putting on events in the area,
I've been told to move on. I'm sorry if anyone else wanted to speak on this. I've also told to skipping 8.5. It's simply just saying that these are existing now. Please take them, show them around, spread them around. 8.6, conversations updates with Mayor Nathan Shanks and Councillor Cody Davis, requested to be added by Nathan. Nathan and or Cody to provide updates on what is going on, and the committee can ask questions. That's it. Please, one of you two explain more.
So just the reason this is here is just to provide a regular point in the agenda where you can ask the councillors what's going on. And what's going on is that we, in this budget cycle, are upgrading the microphones. So I'm sure everyone will be very appreciative.
Yes, I certainly will, and I'm sure my fellow chair over there will certainly be excited to see some new upgrades. Yeah, this session is merely just the grill your elected members bit. Anything that you're thinking about, what you're seeing, what you want to know about council interaction with other levels of government. Is council dropping the ball in some areas? What are we doing in this, that and the other? Just take the opportunity. I don't think you ever offend myself or Councillor Davies. I can't promise it for future members, so tread carefully future, but I work in construction, so go for it.
Abby, question.
Oh, not Abby, she scares me. No, just kidding.
I'm sorry, Abby, you are not allowed to talk.
Are you kidding though? I don't know. I suppose I'm asking this question based off of what I just said, completely selfishly. With a lot of councils at the moment, they're kind of like, we have this amount of funding until the exceeded. This is really good. And once the arts funding has reached its limit, no more until the new financial year. I understand we have community grants, but do we have any specific arts funding for events in our either central area or our council district?
So at this point in time, I'm probably going to take the economic lens that is being looked at the moment and the event activation space of what's going on with our new Section 41 committee. What we're trying to do there is say events and activations are a good thing. They have really good spin-off effects in our local economy for our local businesses, but they also provide spaces for local artists to come and perform, show art in general, whatever we're thinking. The bit that I think was missing in the past was actually being able to show the benefits. You know, I go to the Christmas pageant, for example, and I don't think there'd be too many that would argue that that isn't a great thing. But we need to get it into the return on investment piece so that we can actually show it out to our ratepayers and go, hey, we're spending a couple of $100,000 on activation, whether that be sponsorship partnership with the Gawler show, or it be some in-kind / cash for Pace Festival, or it be our fringe events, you know, whatever it is. What is the return on investment? And when we don't have a dollar figure that we can be able to report on, we actually then help it with the community outcomes and the feedback that we receive. But I think we were lacking in the ability to be able to capture that raw data, to be able to show, let's say the naysayers in a lack of a better term, the critics, that this is worthy of investment. And some of those events that you've mentioned are certainly being discussed on that board level and in council, but other than fringe and assisting with Pace and Gawler show and all the rest of it, we haven't got anything on the horizon like what you've mentioned. That said, the discussions are around what you're mentioning, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can tease out of that and actually back it with some facts so that it does actually cement in.
Brilliant, thank you so much. Follow-up question from that. Say I put on a music gig in Gawler, entirely self-funded, I'll organise everything myself. What data and analytics can I give to either yourself or council or whoever would like that? What are you looking for from me, I suppose?
Just a little bit of a heads up of when the event is. Other than that, there's a thing called Spend Map that actually tracks all the transactions. So if you have a massive gig and we see a spike in what otherwise wouldn't be spent on different areas and whatever else, we turn around and say, here's a real economic benefit. Medal on Murray, if we're going to take that as an example. Medal on Murray, heavy music festival that comes in, takes over the PA, right? They're in their third year, I believe, completely sold out. They are at capacity now thinking, well, what does this look like moving forward? Are we talking different locations? Are we talking different days, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? With SpendMap, what we can actually look at is go, the weekend prior to Medal on Murray operated like this. The weekend with Medal on Murray operated like this. And those are the sorts of pieces of data that allow us to then make the business cases to say, hey, here's the activation. Hey, businesses, do you guys want your separate levy of commercial rates that they pay for the existence of our economic committee? Do you want that going to those activation opportunities? Question mark. So, and I guess what I would recommend is when those committees are on, someone like yourself coming in and speaking to your experiences and what ideas you have would be a great thing as well.
Yes, Cody?
Take this one. So just to add to that, I have been discussing with Isaac, one of the other councillors, about potentially expansions to the community grants and stuff, but it's not up and about quite yet, but I think that's the kind of thing, just more opportunities for people to be able to apply for things, and a simplification potentially of the community grants process, which has some confusing things on the forms. And aside from that, I think it would be interesting to see what kind of things what kind of barriers we could remove. Ren had a motion last year about the getting rid of fees for busking. And that's the sort of thing that, if you look at Walker Place, which is the area where the subway is, and all of that, and there was a big redevelopment. That was part of our last attempt to do up the town centre. And the idea was, we'll have a big sort of public space, people will just be in there busking and all that sort of thing. It never gets used. Nobody wants to use it for an event because it will cost like 6 figures for security guards and, car barricades and whatever else for a big event, and then for a smaller event, it can just be difficult. So I think a few things like that of where can we make it a little easier, just for small performers to do things that aren't events but are just local music or that sort of thing, I think would be something that will be interesting to look further into.
Thank you. I'm assuming this is active now, that we can ask the council some questions, correct?
Absolutely.
Sweet. Deadman's Pass, the little kind of parking area there that's now turned into a kind of a little caravan parking. Do you know who put up the sign saying no tents? Was that council or was that like private? Yes, please, go ahead.
No, that was me.
Oh, it was you. That was you. Oh,
Yeah.
oh okay. Thank you. Why was the sign put up saying no tents and or no pop-up tents on the back of trucks or back of cars?
Yeah, no. Happy to take that one. So the problem we're having was people were starting to use the creek as the toilet. And so we're very clear about having to be self-contained. And that just means have your own toilet amenities in your vehicle. Now, it's not to say it can't be done, but it's much harder to have it in a tent or a rooftop camper. So that was the primary reason. And how it was playing out was people that were using the environment or walking along were having to deal with the consequence of people not having their own toilet facilities.
And if I can, I'll add a little bit of context around that motion as it came through the chamber. Councillor Ethan White was the one championing this cause, and what he saw, and I hope I do his motion justice here, I'm sure my colleague will assist here, what he saw was a parcel of land that otherwise was really inactive in Council's portfolio, and those that know Ethan understand he has a lot of experience travelling around and seeing how the tourism industry works across South Australia and across the world in some cases. And he noticed that there's a thing called wiki camps where that helps people that have vans and RVs and the like be able to plot out their trip, and people that are on the road for many, many weeks plot it out specifically where they might pick up a free campsite, maybe like a 24-hour or a really nominal figure, but the people that do that are typically the ones that have those big vans, the ones that are off-grid and that can be off-grid for a big distance of time. And so the motion actually went up. It was actually quite successful when it first started. I reckon Cody Davies also did a video on it as well, because we were getting some really great feedback, and it was bringing these people into our town that probably had about $200,000 worth of van and ute/vehicle towing it, and they came into Gawler for the first time on their way through, and they would stop in and they'd do their shopping here, and they'd go to the cafes, and that economic stimulus that we otherwise didn't have for a little bit of dolomite and some signs that downplayed it. Sorry, staff listening. Great work in there. But what ended up then happening was some people started taking advantage of it, and it was starting to get used for not the intended use of the purpose, not the intended use. And then we started losing some of the clientele that we actually did want to get in and come in and start spending money in our town and the like. So the new sign is merely just a reminder to those users what we will and what we won't allow. Funnily enough, what is prohibited hasn't really changed. It's just we've communicated it a little bit differently to hopefully empower our rangers to be able to go down there and say, hey guys, did you read the sign? So, yeah.
On that, wouldn't a simpler solution to that being ways you could allow tents is pointing to the public bathrooms at Deadman's Park, or simply installing maybe 1 or 2 porta potties near that place? That would stop your issues of simple issue of the people using bathrooms as the creek as a bathroom. I understand that is unnecessary and kind of bad, but the main point of that place is amazing. The whole point of it being a place someone can come and stay at the night, but you are, and then use the facilities of Gawler, you are losing people with not being able to have a tent or at least a pop-up on their car, simply on the issues of they don't have a toilet.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the toilet problem is not the only problem as well. So the RV, the model or the RV friendly or the space that was created was very similar to the other parks and opportunities that are in these routes for the people that do have these off-grid setups. Typically, your tents and your rooftop tents don't meet that off-grid category. That's why they're prohibited, as they are across the industry in most places, I believe. But it wasn't just about people going to the toilet in the creek, or it was actually just people going down there and camping, not just passing through, just going down and free camping. We do have a campsite, a caravan park and the like that actually do have powered sites and all the rest of it, so we don't want to steal those opportunities away from our caravan park. We actually just want to bring in the people that are only going to stop over for a 24-hour window on their way through, and just to slightly, the industry identifies the different usages differently, if that makes sense.
And just on the pointing people to the toilets, there are nearby public toilets, but they're not open at 1 in the morning. And so That's another thing, yeah.
Yeah, if I can just add, probably and it's all part of the answer, but the two key things for me were, so if you take the example that you said, could you put porta potties there? So on one level you could say yes, but then you've got to work out how you're going to fund that. So if you say, and I'm just plucking a number, but if it's going to cost $1,000 a week, because it's not just the porta potty, you've got to have someone to service it and look after it. So that's $52,000 a year that we've got to find from somewhere. You go, okay, that's a challenge, trying to keep cost of living down. The other aspect we had to have regard for was, whilst we've got the new toilets, which are the automatic ones, we're also dealing with antisocial behaviour that was happening in the early hours of the morning and late at night. So a decision was made, okay, let's close those from, what is it, sunset to sunrise, whatever it is. So if we'd done that, we may have inadvertently been causing another issue that we were trying to solve. And it's a bit like the story of local government. Everything's a balance. So we just had to find that balance nuance about what's acceptable and what's not.
So basically everyone keeps smashing up all the toilets, all the public toilets, and so it's actually very expensive to deal with, and that's partially why we're transitioning to those more metal automatic ones, but it's still, I think, just a balance that we have to keep dealing with.
Yes.
If I may, maybe just clear up any confusion. Just correct me if I'm wrong, but the site is an RV dedicated site. It's not a free campsite. It's an RV site.
And it doesn't
And so
meet...
it's unsafe in some ways.
Yeah,
It would
it's an
be free
RV site, but
camping.
how it was used originally when it first opened up was people who just was driving past Gawler could also set up a tent or had a tent set up on the
It's
back
an
of the
RV
thing.
campsite. It
I
was
understand
specified
that,
for
yes.
an
It was
RV
just,
use.
it was a very
Gawler has
site.
campgrounds. We have so many campgrounds where people would be saying, but it's for those short 24-hour, less than that, overnight RV stops that wouldn't otherwise fit like in our street parking, in our otherwise. So, yeah.
And yes,
RV
and that is, the thing is, we were trying to provide something that wasn't, because we have a caravan park, and so we don't want to just say, here's a free alternative to this commercial enterprise in the town. Let's take business away from the caravan park and create our own free caravan park where we're spending a lot of money and gaining no money. And so it's also just, it's meant to be, because there's a reason we don't have lights and all this other stuff, is it's meant to be basically a safe place on the side of the road for a self-contained area to stop for a little while. And when you try making it more than that, it becomes, well, if you want it to be officially RV friendly, you need a dump point and all this sort of stuff, and that's not a good place for a dump point. So if you were going to do a permanent location, it probably wouldn't be there. So do you want to set up permanent infrastructure? So yeah, there's a lot happening there.
I'm not saying it's a bad decision that it exists. I think it's an amazing thing that exists. I'm just trying to point out that, and I also was wondering why those signs were placed, simply. But I do understand correctly if the problems were they were doing bad behaviours, behaviours we don't really want during times where most of you would be asleep. You would assume you would get people saying, who live around there saying, hey, this is happening. I also seen since that place is now being a thing, this could have nothing to do with it, but people who just moved in a year ago is moving off of that street. They are selling their house. No idea if that's connected at all. But yeah, there is, it's an amazing thing. We should move on, considering everyone seems very antsy, and pretty much all my questions are answered. Does anyone else have any more questions towards council at all? No, great. We're going to be moving on to item 9 here. Items listed for discussions at future meetings. You don't want me to read what this says? What does that mean? Okay. Communication methods for the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee and other youth-based groups and activities. Is that it? We will come back to that next month. I'm also a little confused what that means. Does anyone else, we can move, yep. Item 10, questions without notice. Does anyone have any questions without notice? No? 11, motions without notice, anyone? No? Then I would love to move to closing time. Will see this meeting is closing at 8:27 p.m. On Monday, 1st of June. And we'll see you all in the next meeting on Monday, the 6th of July at 6:30